is Joy News Prime.
From Fanofa Street, Kokolmeme, here in Accra, this is Joy News Prime, your most comprehensive 2 hours of news on television in Ghana. Over the next 2 hours, we'll bring you the biggest headlines of the day, as well as business, sports, entertainment, our interactive segment, and internationals. In this edition, demonstration by pro-opposition groups pushing for the compilation of new voters' register turns violent after police forcefully resist attempts by protesters to go off agreed route.
Business tonight, Ghana National Petroleum Corporation begins processes to make Jubilee gas available for use in thermal plants in Tema. The corporation is hoping the project should be completed by the end of this year.
My name is Israel and this bulletin is also available across Europe on ABN television. Stay tuned. Now, very first story, there was violence on the streets of Accra on Wednesday as police clashed with pro-opposition demonstrators demanding a new voters register for the general elections next year. What was meant to be a peaceful procession turned chaotic when the demonstrators reportedly tried to use an unapproved route.
The demonstration started peacefully at Obrasport, where protesters were seen with placards spelling their demands for a new voters register.
It is our right to demonstrate. We have the right to demonstrate. So that I don't think that EC has the right to resist our demonstration. That wouldn't be right.
What else are you going to do?
We'll keep, pleading with them to do the right thing, because it will be more expensive or it will be more costly to go into war than to listen to the voice of the people. Whether or not we like it, our neighboring countries have gone through it. It has happened in our neighboring countries, so we shouldn't be complacent. We shouldn't think that it cannot happen in Ghana. When people are fed up, when people are tired of bad governance, they will resist. They will stand up against the bad governance. What I advise the EC to do is to listen to the voice of the masses.
With the crowd growing thicker, a promise of a peaceful protest by organizers seemed a little too difficult to adhere to as the demonstrators chose to use an unapproved route. In its attempt to get the protesters to stick to the approved routes, the police fired tear gas and deployed water cannons into the gathering.
Eventually, they set off to their destination, which is Hasselfolk Park, through the approved route, that is coming Kuma Avenue, linking up with the Atamils High Street, and then terminating at the Hasselfolk Park. However, a little distance into the journey, they decided to veer off onto this particular route that we are standing on, apparently heading for the EC, much against the order of the court. And police, being peace officers and law enforcers, we decided to stop them. And that is what we have been doing up to this point.
Some random arrests were made, with the convener of the Let My Vote Count Alliance spending several hours in police custody. Some protesters also seem to have suffered one form of assault or another, with former executive director of Dankwa Institute, Gabi Otridaku, among a number of persons spotted with bruises.
Right, so Kwashi Afre Nyama covered the demonstration for Joy News, and he's here in the studio with me. So you were there on the scene when it all happened. I mean, break it down to how did it all start?
Well, from the beginning, right from the moment they left the Obrasport, that's where it actually all started. There was major disagreement between the leadership of this demonstration and the police over who should lead the line. The police thought that they are in charge of security, direction and all that, so they went ahead. But the leadership thought that the leadership of this protesters, they thought that, well, this is our demonstration, let us direct you where we want to go. After all, we have agreed on the path. Well, the police conceded, they walked on the shoulders of the road. Now, when they got to the Adabraka area, there's a Presby school in that area. Some of the protesters insisted on using another route that the police described as unapproved, and that's on the left side of the road. And at this point, they were divided in two, one half ahead, and you had the leadership of the protesters. You had leaders in the top figures in the MPP as well, John Boedu, national organizer, former chairman Peter McMenu, or at the front row, and those at the back were still insisting, giving the police a tough time, you know, as they insisted that they wanted to use that route. Now, this is where the major drama broke out, when all of a sudden, instead of using the route around the Yoko office towards the Atamils High Street to the Haas Park or the Independence Square area, the protesters chose to use this route that had become contentious. In fact, over the past few days, there's been a lot of battle, if you like, between the police and the protesters, the coalition, saying that each side insisting that, well, the police, for example, saying that we will not allow you to use the EC premises, picket there because it's a security zone. The leadership of the protesters saying that, well, this is where we want to be, this is where we want to present our petition. Well, today, what happened, despite a restraining order from the court, they chose to use that route. And that's curious.
That's curious, actually, because we had spoken to them earlier and they had agreed that they were going to comply with the route agreed with the police. So at what point did they decide that they were going to do something contrary?
Well, Israel, I was not surprised at all that this is how events eventually unfolded, because at the Opera spot, I interacted with some of their leaders, I interacted with some of the protesters, and they had made it clear that this was what they intended doing. In fact, flouting the agreement with the police, flouting this restraining order from the court, saying that they shouldn't use the route to the EC at all. So it didn't surprise me. So, and again, as I was mentioning, it was at that point when they attempted using that route close to the EC office, heading straight there, that the drama broke out. The police started firing tear gas, rubber bullets, and spraying them with hot water. Some of them attempted resisting. Well, in the process, the police made some random arrests. About 34 of the protesters, including leaders, were arrested. Some got hurt in the process. You saw some of the images there as well. Some seriously bleeding and all that.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwachi Afre Nyama. And we'll also be joined by one of the leaders of the demonstration. He's David Asante, and we've been speaking to David Asante for some time now, and he's joining us at the end of today's protest to tell us how come things went that bad. Good evening to you, David.
Good evening, Israel.
Okay, so apparently you were one of the people who were arrested. How many of you were arrested in all?
I could count over 30 persons arrested this afternoon after the demonstration, or during the demonstration, which ended abruptly.
Okay, so some of the protesters were also hurt, and you know, can you give us that account? How many of you encountered those injuries? Yeah,
just spare me a second to correct this. Israel, the few times we had the opportunity to speak to this issue, we never insisted we were going to defy the police. We said we were going to stick to the court's instruction and refrain from the premises of the Electoral Commission.
Which is another thing I wanted to come to. So you agreed to comply. I mean, you were going to comply. So at what point did you decide that?
Our earlier engagement with the police was that, however, we will select leadership to present the document to the Electoral Commission. That was part of the agreement. We got to a certain level in the process, and I saw about 15 to maximum 20 persons thereabouts attempting to go closer to submit leadership. About 20 people had lined up and they were holding the banner, and the original plan was, which included Gabi Asroche, former CEO of Komfanoche Hospital, who is the leader for Movement for Change. It was proper they would be allowed to present the petition. Israel, I felt so sad. It was a pathetic day in our democratic history, where the very first and initial response of the police to disperse a crowd of 20 was to fire.
Are you sure this was a crowd of 20 and not more than 20?
Israel, minimal force has always been the way in civil environments like what we have. The awful experience of May 9th disaster, if the police had been a little bit more professional and employed minimal force and not a British one like they did. As we speak now, we have over 20 young men who suffered terrible injuries, police brutalities meted out to poor and innocent citizens, only marching to present a petition. In any case, couldn't we have engaged the leaders to speak to their supporters first of all? My understanding is that were the young men and women armed at all? They were not. Were they exhibiting traits of violence? They were not being violent. They were not resisting nor combating the police. What really necessitated the police's professional? I just can't figure it out. That was their very first point of reaction. Fire, tear gas, and I saw humans running, and they were being chased by the police after they had inhaled the tear gas, and they were running for their dear lives. The police were still chasing them, smashing them. You've seen a couple of pictures, so pathetic in our political history.
All right, were you able to submit the petition in any case?
We did not. That opens another chapter. This is our original intention. We would have to organize this program again and submit the petition. As I speak to you now, the petition is still in my bosom. We want to hand it over to you.
You're saying that you're going to organize another demonstration?
We have to, because our petition is still with us.
Yeah, you can just walk into the
No, Israel. We want to do another proper demonstration. We shall notify the police. We shall sit and engage them. We shall approve or agree on a route to use, and we will go to present the petition.
If you had agreed to a certain route the first time, and it turns out that the police didn't allow you to go along that route, why do you think you're going to succeed this time?
Well, in any case, I have learned a few lessons from the kind of, brutalities meted out to us. The next time when we go to sit with the police, negotiating venue and routes and all that, I'm sure what happened today will inform our decision better. We've learned a few lessons.
Which lessons?
We may want to keep that to ourselves for now, because I was arrested as the leader of the movement, and I was detained, and a couple of 25 or more persons were arrested, and we've been charged, and we are to be processed for court and all that. The principle remains: the fight and the battle to redeem Ghana's democracy through sound democratic practices, starting from credible voters register to a final election which result can hardly be contested. These are the principles that encourage us to move on. We will not give up.
All right, thank you very much. David Asante is with the group of protesters that are pushing for the compilation of a new voters register. They were part of a demonstration today. He, along with several others, were arrested. We're taking a break. This is Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. High Court Judge Justice Peter Derry has filed a second lawsuit in connection with the ongoing expose of corruption in the judiciary by investigative journalist Manasa Azrael. This latest suit by Justice Derry is seeking to stop managers of the Accra International Conference Center from allowing the facility to be used for the public screening of the journalist's documentary detailing how several judges and court officials allegedly took bribes to influence the outcome of cases. News editor Stephen Anti has been reading the writ and joins me now in the studio with details. Good evening to you.
Hi,
Steve. Who are the people named in the suit apart from the conference center?
Right, apart from the conference center, Justice Derry is targeting the Director of Estate and General Services at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the manager of the Accra, and the manager of the Accra International Conference Center. So basically what he's trying to do is to restrain them, and let me just quote from the writ, says, an order restraining the defendants, their privies and assigns from carrying out or making the Accra International Conference Center available for the intended public screening of the said illegally and unlawfully procured audio-visual recording on the 22nd and 23rd of September. So basically you would be, many of our audiences might be following the development that Justice Derry is trying very hard to put an injunction on the screening.
And indeed on this particular issue, there have actually invitations have actually gone out,
yes,
with the time, with the date,
exactly,
the time and venue for the event.
A court would have to hear this before the scheduled date for this screening. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. So why does Justice Derry want the conference center to be closed to Anas? Just because they're going to show they're supposed to be showing it?
He has insisted that the method by which Anas collected the evidence against him is illegal. So that's where you can see him always constantly referring to it as an illegally acquired audio visual. So first he wants this stopped because he feels that if they go ahead to screen it, then it will be unfair to him and it is against his right to fair hearing because he will be appearing before the committee.
Meanwhile, Anas has released another episode in this, what I would call Anas Chronicles. What's it saying?
I know this one is on Justice SL, but typically he goes in, try to convince a judge to take money, but the posturing of Justice SL in this transcript really was like, hey, I don't like trouble, you know. So although typically Anas went through the middleman King George, King George. I mean, is a King Gabriel, the typical guy Anas has been using. So he goes through this guy, and this guy creates the impression that he's a man to see Justice Esel. But they go to Justice Esel, and it looks like Esel is cautious. So through one of the conversations, Justice Esel goes like, this will give me a problem, you know, this kind of thing will give me a problem. And you see, it's difficult for me. I don't want to take anybody's money, because once you take the money, he expects that, you know. So constantly the interaction between Anas and Justice Esel showed that he wasn't really keen. So there's nowhere in this chronicle that the justice took the money, and he has, I must say, Israel, that and we have a copy of the response that
so he's responded to this particular
he has, but you know, typically this is the response that is addressed to the Chief Justice, the allegations that have been made, and in this response, I will read some of the highlights.
So now hold
of
it.
The response.
Could this be Justice Derry's response to the Chief Justice asked them to respond, you know, formally to the allegations?
Yes, this is the response. So
we'd like to hear
this response, if you read all, it's I'll give you a preamble. It says, we are informed that our client has been accused by the Tiger Eye PI of receiving an amount of 5,000 Ghana cedis to influence him to acquit a person accused in the matter of the Republic versus Mohammed. This is a murder case in which Anas was seeking to bribe the judge so that they will go ahead to release the suspect who is in jail. So Justice Derry's response suggests that the person is still in there. I didn't take any money. He's actually denying that he took any money, and it's referring to this transcript that Anas has put on Facebook. He says, as part of the reasons he's giving, the lawyer wrote this. His lawyer is Gary Nimako Mafo. Now, the lawyer is saying that Justice Esel suddenly lost interest in the discussion and told King Gabriel and his brothers, who now they have found out that these are Tiger Eye people, that he has been on the bench since 1991 and that he was not interested in taking anybody's money. So he's making a strong case that he didn't take any money, he didn't have any interest in taking any money, and his body language did not suggest that he was even keen in taking the money. And the transcript we have on Anas's page kind of seem to actually support the points that the lawyer is raising.
He's also, Justice Derry is also saying that indeed the guy you're saying that I took money to release is still in jail.
It's still in jail. That's right. You know, so this is going to be one of the strongest responses we have seen so far, and it appears to be poking into the strength of Anas's expose. So we'll see how that goes.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Joy News editor Stephen Anti, bringing us up to speed on the very latest in the Anas, described as the Anas Chronicles. Now, the Ghana Journalists Association is demanding thorough investigations into the recent deaths of two of its members. The first, the most notable, involves a member of the Presidential Press Corps, Samuel Nyama, who died in a motor accident at Doinya near Tema. The second case, the GJ wants investigators, is a murder of John Abanga, a journalist with Success FM at Goso in the Branhafo region.
The Ghana Journalists Association has in the last few weeks come under severe criticism for doing very little to defend its members under attack or in distress. This followed the death of the Ghanaian Times reporter Samuel Nyama, who lost his life in the accident involving the Presidential Press Corps. The fallouts from the accident, including the destruction of a tape recorder belonging to a journalist from the state broadcaster by a presidential staffer, cast the president of the GJ as someone who cared more about defending the presidency than championing the welfare of members of his association. No surprise, therefore, that even though the president, Afel sat through the association's news conference, it was rather the general secretary who did most of the talking. Dave Agbenu demanded a comprehensive investigation into the deaths of not just Samuel Nyama, but also the killing of John Abanga, so that those found criminally liable could be brought to book.
As you know, Samuel Enim is still fresh in our minds. We lost our colleague in Kumasi some time ago, and we are yet to come to full closure with that murder, because even though some people were said to have been arrested, we do not have full closure. So we want to exert some amount of pressure instead on the police to ensure that this one is investigated, the culprits apprehended, tried, and prosecuted.
The GJA is also appealing to the public to remain calm while awaiting the outcome of police investigations into the deaths of Nyama and Abanga.
Now, as the GJA demands a full-scale investigation to the deaths of two journalists, Joy News award-winning journalist Manasa Azrael has been conducting his own investigations for a documentary on the circumstances leading to the accident involving the presidential press corps. That documentary will air on Joy FM in Accra on Thursday, and Manasa joins me now in the studio with a peek into his findings so far. Now, first, what made you decide to embark on this project?
Well, Israel, what normally happens is that when issues of this nature happen, we depend on authorities and the police to speak. But after this accident, we tried as much as we could to get information from the presidents. No one is willing to speak. I have tried several times to speak to the police, and they are not willing to give out any piece of information. But we can't also fold our arms and sit down, because when the issue happened, if you went on Facebook, you had a lot of people asking who owns this vehicle. There are also suggestions that people or the presidential press corps don't receive the necessary or the needed treatment, the respect or dignity.
They're handled anyhow.
Yes, they are handled anyhow. So I decided to go deep into this and then bring out a full story. And as you rightly said about this documentary, we will be able to prove with evidence that those who report at the presidency are not treated well.
Okay. Apart from that, what else have you been able to find out, for instance, about who owns the vehicle and the registration details?
Well, this vehicle is a GMC Savannah van with the registration number GB60612, and it was manufactured in 2002 but registered in Ghana in 2012.
So 10 years after.
10 years, yes. And it was a second-hand vehicle or a used vehicle. And the name at the registrar, the DVLA, is one Abraham Donko of Tema. He actually owns this vehicle. I also did my checks at the Registrar General's Department and realized that, or the information I got pointed to the fact that the Imaka Rentals, when it happened, we were told it's a Labadi Beach Hotel, but it's not Labadi Beach Hotel. This is the name of the company, Imaka Rentals, and it was registered last year. This company or this entity is a sole proprietorship, and it is owned by Emmanuel Abe Aneti. And the information he provided, when they asked the number of employees he wants to engage, he wrote 2. And the annual amount of money he intended to make, or the envisaged income, he wrote 1,000 Ghana cedis. So when I got this information, I realized, well, if the whole presidency of the Republic of Ghana is dealing with a company that has only 2 employees, it was a bit curious. So I decided to dig further and know the profile of this company. So I placed a call to this man and pretended I was interested in getting a vehicle hired. And so I asked him whether he is registered or he pays any tax. He said, well, I don't pay any tax. I asked whether he has an office. That he does not have an office. I asked whether he owns the cars he uses. That I don't have money to buy a car. So what he does is to depend on others who have their cars to hire. So this is the profile of the company, the highest office of the land it's working with.
Well, it may not be so surprising because, like you talked about, there are people who would have their vehicles available and would make it available to, car rental companies like these to use temporarily. Is there anything else you found that you think you find curious?
Well, Israel, it may not be too strange if any ordinary organization is dealing with this company, because what the GJA president said, when I spoke to him, he said this is a reputable car rental company that even if the presidency has international visitors like AU Summit or ECOWAS Summit, they rely on this company.
Okay, I suspect that the information he gave to you is information that was passed on to him.
Yes, from the Chief of Staff, and he said he is inclined to believe whatever he was told.
Now, talking about the GJ president, do you find it curious that at the news conference they held, he didn't speak?
Well, I think it was the right thing to be done because
you've made him speak on too many occasions.
I made him
getting
speak
himself into trouble.
No, he actually did not approach the issues well, and so journalists all over the country have not been happy with the stance he has taken, to the extent that a reporter and you would go and get involved in an accident and you believe someone else who was not there. So he had lost it, and so people hearing him speak wouldn't attach so much importance to the press statement. Otherwise, all the time he speaks, and I think it is a good decision they made.
All right. Thank you very much, Manasa Azrael. So Manasa Azrael has been looking into the accident, the vehicle that got into that accident involving the presidential press corps, in which one of the members of the presidential press corps, Samuel Nyama, of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, he passed. We're taking a break. This is Joy News Prime. When we come back, we bring you business news. Please don't go away. All right, it's time now for business news, and Etonam says here. Good evening to you, Etonam.
Good evening.
And there's gas here, gas there, gas everywhere.
Plenty gas issues, Israel, but ultimately I need energy to work. So if this will solve the energy situation we are currently experiencing, I'm all for it.
All right.
All right, now the much-awaited gas reverse infrastructure connecting the Atuabo gas plants in Takoradi to power plants in Tema is expected to be completed before the end of this year. The reverse system, estimated to cost about 5 million Ghana cedis, is expected to make excess gas from the Takoradi gas enclave available for use by power plants in Tema. Speaking with Joy Business Director of Engineering and Technical Services at the Ghana Gas Company, Dr. Ben Kedi Asante said the initiative should ensure gas produced at the Jubilee field is optimally utilized for power generation.
I had a presentation from the MD of West African Gas Pipeline that with the interconnection of Ghana Gas's pipeline to the West African Gas Pipeline, we certainly will be able to transport any stranded gas or any excess gas in the western part of the country over to the east. I think that will be a tremendous, approach, or a tremendous step in trying to make sure that the power plants over in the Tema enclave have a reliable supply of gas. That's both coming from Nigeria and also coming from the west, utilizing the West African Gas Pipeline for reverse transport.
And when are we having this done?
We probably are looking to having this done within 3 to 4 months from today as you and I speak. So it is something that we intend to accelerate as soon as possible. Now, we are still in the front-end engineering stage, and we expect that it will take no more than 3 to 4 months to have installed. Studies by those who are doing the initial assessment of it estimate that it could probably be something around maybe 4 to 5 million to get that interconnection done. It's essentially maybe a 2-kilometer pipeline and some valving that will join those two main lines. That is the offshore pipeline from WACP and the Ghana Gas onshore 111-kilometer 20-inch line.
Still on gas, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation GNPC says several initiatives are being advanced to boost the production and utilization of gas from the Jubilee field. This, it says, should allay fears of a possible decline in the country's oil revenues due to the ineffective utilization of gas produced from the Jubilee field.
The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, raised the concern, citing the potential of the excess gas trapped in the oil wells to inhibit the production of crude oil. But GNPC's Development and Production Manager, Victor Sunuata, says this challenge has been adequately tackled since the gas processing plant became operational in November 2014. Victor Sunuata spoke to Joy Business after a special GNPC training on the upstream oil and gas sector for the team.
You know, in the past, gas was being injected into the reservoirs, and we're having overpressure problem. Right now, as we are speaking, we see a marked decrease in what we call the gas-oil ratio because we are evacuating gas from the field. To just answer your point of production, so it is making the reservoirs free to produce even better. And that gas is fueling the thermal plants now in the Takoradi thermal plants in Mabuazi. Currently, we are shipping, Ghana Gas is shipping between 80 to 90 million cars from the Atuabo processing plant all the way to Abuazi thermal plants. And from the FPSO itself, Kwame Nkrumah, we are evacuating over 100 million standard cubic feet a day of gas from it. So that key infrastructure is in place. So the fears of all of you and Ghanaians regarding evacuation of gas from that field is more or less fixed now.
He adds that government and its partners in the industry are rather pursuing additional initiatives to boost the production and utilization of gas.
Takoradi can take all the gas, and with all the infrastructure, gas power plants being built in Takoradi, any gas that Jubilee will produce will all be consumed in Takoradi. However, we are still the sector, government, the Ministry of Petroleum, Ghana Gas, West Africa Gas Pipeline Company, our good selves, we are working together to interconnect these two key infrastructure so that if there's an upset in Takoradi thermal plants, gas can be brought to there.
Improved production and utilization of gas should go a long way to enhance power supply for consumers and businesses alike in the coming months.
The declining earnings from cocoa exports can be attributed to challenges with production. This is what Joy Business has picked up from persons within the industry. The following Business Desk report is more.
Cocoa on the international market has not witnessed that significant drop in prices compared to gold and crude oil. Therefore, it was surprising for many as figures covering the country's traditional export show that cocoa earnings for the month of August dropped by 28% to $67 million. But checks with industry experts indicate that the country has been having some challenges with the export of the bean. This is because of the recent black pod disease, which affected most cocoa trees, as well as challenges with the national spraying exercise. All these made it difficult for the country to export the volumes of beans initially targeted. Also, Joy Business is learning that some of the cocoa beans are being smuggled to neighboring Ivory Coast, a development that will affect Ghana's revenue from cocoa exports. Already, government has revised the expected production target for this year to 720 tons from the initial 780,000 tons.
In a related development, Deputy Minister of Finance Ato Forson told Joy Business, despite this challenge, government is committed to keeping its spending within the budget target for the rest of the months.
Areas around expenditure, we should be bearing in mind that you can only spend what you have. And obviously, if you fail to do that, you end up increasing the deficit unnecessarily. And increasing the deficit unnecessarily will mean that you are increasing the public debt. So we look at the resource allocation, which is a very complex one. We look at it vis-a-vis looking at the expenditure as the public are asking for. And then, as much as possible, do a fair sharing, bearing in mind that certain tech sectors are of critical nature than others. So these are things that we do.
Businesses must retool and reskill their personnel in order for them to remain relevant in their work as technology advances with time. Individuals should also continually reorient themselves against technology or risk losing their jobs to machines with development. This is the advice from the Chief Executive Officer of PhD Media Ghana Limited, Bright Lajekpo, at a debate over man versus machine, also termed as artificial intelligence.
The man versus the machine debate was to get captains of industry to understand artificial intelligence, AI, and its relevance to individuals and businesses. AI refers to the ability of machines to perform human-oriented actions, and for the debaters, it is fast becoming the mode of doing tasks and must be taken seriously.
Artificial intelligence is a big deal, and the whole world is talking about it because we've seen over the last few years that it's gathering a lot of pace and machines are gaining on us. And as human beings, we need to take back our control. We need to secure our future. We need to secure our jobs. So we need to identify the skill sets that only humans can do. Stuff like empathy and stuff like relationship building, to the extent that human beings are the only ones who can do that. So we need to refocus and retrain and retool and reskill our HR to make sure that in the next 10 to 15 years, when what we call strong AI hits and computers or robots begin to do things like you and I can do, we'll still have a job, we'll still have businesses. And on top of that, we can still optimize our budgets, our resources as businesses.
I am Etonamsi, and that's how we wrap up with business. Thanks for staying with me. As always, get interactive with us on Facebook, facebook.com/joybusiness, on our Twitter handle @joybiztoday, and also on myjoyonline.com/business. There's more news with Israel. Please stay.
Miss G is here, and she's here with entertainment. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Israel.
I'm sure you have all the gossips.
Sure. I do have a lot of them today.
What's coming up?
A lot. A lot.
Before you go on, I actually have my invite.
I see.
Guess what? So this is, I don't know if the cameras can capture it. It is actually, check it out, Selom Gali. It's getting married to Stephen Fio. Okay, so Selly and
Cartel Big J
exactly
have officially
and I've gotten my invite, which should tell you that they don't have a problem with me.
But Israel,
Big J doesn't have a problem with me taking a photo with a calling the fiance bae.
Fine bae.
A fine bae.
Anyway, let's talk about the stories. And a few weeks to the premiere of the much talked about movie Sex Tape, which features Nanama McBrown and Rosalind Ngiza as lead characters. The two seems not to be bothered about anybody's business, as Rosalind posts a video of them dancing shoki to Roundtown's Nobody's Business. Easy. That's shoki for you again.
They were just sitting in a
but
car
they still were able to dance shoki.
That kind of shoki can be done. Nobody's business.
It's like you're some swag.
Attitude.
No, not with your neck like that. No, it's not like that. Anyway, but we all know Kumahood actor Kweku Menu for his enviable skills when it comes to acting. But have you thought about Kweku Menu as a musician? Check out his new single, Aduma, which features Galaxy's Kwesi Dave. Or sentences.
Oh, okay, yes. But it's not like the Kumahood thing.
Oh, no. It's really a Kweku Menu thing.
Not a Kumahood. I'm love you.
I'm kiss you. Okay. All right. But check out Ahofe Patri. I'm sure you know Ahofe Patri. She has a new look. You want to say?
Oh, what new look again?
She has a new look.
She's as lovely as she is.
No, this is a new look. I think it's better. Let's see it.
Really?
Yeah, now she's gone blonde.
Okay.
Yes. She wants everybody to see that this is a new look. She's gone blonde.
Please let me see the blonde properly. I can't quite see the blonde. I want to see the blonde.
Why?
Again.
Why are you so interested in this?
Otherwise, I'm going to go on social media myself. In fact, I have my.
What's your interest in Patricia?
I have my chat screen. She's a sweet lady.
anyway.
That's why she's called Ahwonfe.
Yes, Ahwonfe Patricia.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's fine for me to just look at her and admire.
But she's not a fine babe.
She's also there. Thank you very much, Ms. G. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you sports. We'll come in Juma Jimang. Stay tuned.
But we start with the All-African Games. Team Ghana winning quite a number of medals in the last 24 hours. We're looking forward to that ladies' final where the Black Queens are going to be in action after defeating the Ivorians by a lone goal in the semi-final. Deputy Sports Minister Vincent Oppong-Asamoah is confident that the ladies can win that gold medal.
We're going for the gold. Looking at what even happened between Ghana and South Africa, we had to ballot. You know, there are certain things that are so divine. You know, it's beyond this. So once we're able to go through it, I knew something special was going to happen. And really, we have seen it on the field of play. Our ladies have done so well, even though the guys were unable to progress. At least, if you come to football, at least they've maintained a pedigree on the continent when it comes to football. I'm so impressed.
He also tells us that he is impressed with Ghana's medal haul so far.
I think so far, so good. Even though most of the area, we participated in about 16 disciplines. Most of them are gone. At least what we have at the moment, we are hopeful of more medals. And going back home, I think we need to look at some of the other sports and see if we can focus on few that will be able to give us a lot more medals. All will depend on how they pull their weight in future competitions. But for me, still football and then athletics clearly shown that these are areas where we need to pay a lot of attention.
Let's get to see the medal table now. And Egypt running away with that 148 medals so far. Where is Ghana in there? Well, we didn't appear in the first 9 countries who are doing very, very well at the All-African Games. Hopefully, we'll be landing some medals in the next 24 hours. And away from the All-African Games, let's do some talent hunting now. And if you want the opportunity to make it big in Doha, Qatar, well, you've got to be a part of this year's Aspire Academy Talent. Hence, the event was launched here in Accra this afternoon.
Vision for the future. I think that's number one. Number two is that the greatest joy that I get is that I'm giving opportunities to these young people, opportunities that I would have loved to have had when I was a little boy. You know, they spoke about the fact that I played hockey for Ghana, I played cricket for Ghana, I was a national athlete. You know, I could have been the first Ghanaian to have played professional football because I had offers to play for Arsenal in London and also Fulham. You know, but I didn't have a mentor, anybody to direct me in the use of my, potential. So for me, when we go around the centers and then we come to our work and we see the boys there, it gives me great pleasure to see them and the desire that they want. That I say, look, I wish I had this many years ago, but I don't have it. But now I have the opportunity to offer it to somebody. And those are the things that give me the greatest pleasure.
And the Ghana Football Association has also pledged its backing to this year's talent hunt exercise.
I believe that this year we'll see more talent coming in and we'll see more Ghanaians making it to the final selection. And I want to assure him that the Ghana Football Association will continue to monitor all the players who have gone through the rounds of Aspire, and that we will not hesitate, as it happened in 2009 when Benson was invited to play for the under-20. Recently, in the 2014-2015 edition of the under-20 preparation, I'm aware that Paul Quay was also invited, and so I can assure you that we are looking forward in the near future to see Aspire players in the Black Stars.
That's it for the bulletin. Before I go to a quick run through our top stories, the demonstration by pro-MPP groups, opposition groups, pushing for the compilation of a new voters register turned violent after police forcefully resisted attempts by the protesters to go off the agreed route. For the bulletin, for more news, log on to myjoyonline.com and get all the details there. My name is Azrael. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.